Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Super excited to be here. It's fabulous to be here. I am very excited about this 7-week healing circle. It's been sat with me for quite some time. I just haven't had the opportunity to lay it all out and bring this to you because I know there's a lot of you out there that would love this content. It will be really helpful. And I know you'll all get something out of it. So before I start, let me say, I know some of you have been through a lot, are going through a lot, and want change in your life. And so I want to be very thoughtful for your situation, and I want to make sure that you're not triggered. So with this course, take your time. I'm not sure what you'll come in here with, whether it's loss, grief, relationship breakup, abuse, domestic violence. I just want to say we're here for you. We understand some of the things that you might be going through. And I just want to say, just take lots of self-care. If you're triggered, have a pause and come back when you need to come back. Okay. I don't want to re-traumatize anybody. I don't want to trigger anybody. I will be sharing a few little stories. And so I just want to be very thoughtful for where you're at whilst you're doing this. And I just want you to take your time, message me if you need, drop a message, either on my Facebook group, or you can join the WhatsApp group as well. I'll share a link at the bottom of this video at the end. We have an amazing community of supporters and people who are ready to reach out and love and care for you and support you through your journey. So I wanted to let you know that there is a support around this, what we're doing here, and we don't want you to be left out at all. Okay, so whilst I've said that, now let's get into some stuff. So we'll be going for about an hour, up to an hour. It's 7 weeks. We're going to cover the rebuilt framework. We're going to start with R, which is recognized. Now, this is the framework that I bring everybody through in one way or another through my workshops, through one-on-one sessions. And so the rebuilt movement is REBUILT, and it's an acronym. So it's recognized. Number one is R, recognize. And what the goal of recognize is just for us to have a look at our situation. Where are we right now? What is happening in our world? What is our pain point? What are you not happy with? What is the problem that is presenting? What's the situation you find yourself in? So that is all comes under recognize. And the idea is that we have a good look at what is working and what is not working. But today's focus is we're going to look at radical acceptance, and we're going to find what it is that you need to radically accept in your life right now with the situation that's presented itself with you. So have that thought in your mind. Just sit for a minute and just think about, okay, what's happening in my world right now that I need to have a look at, I need to recognize, and I need to radically accept. Okay, so that's what this session is about. If you don't know me, my name is Dawn Williams. I created the Rebuilt movement to help people recover from trauma, whether that trauma came through abuse or DV, loss, grief, relationship breakup, sickness, poor health. It doesn't matter. The process is the same when it comes to rebuilding. Okay, so that is what my background is. I'm also have lived experience. I had to walk through trauma and CPTSD myself, and these are the steps that I took as a therapist for myself. So they were tried and tested, and then I worked with all different types of people in all different types of areas. I've worked with men, I've worked with women, I've worked with young kids, I've worked with teenagers, young males and females. And so I have uh, across the field experience when it comes to trauma and what it looks like and how it manifests itself in people. So we have a workbook that's attached to this. If you do want to get the workbook, I highly suggest it. There will be a link in this for you if you want it. But before we start, I want to share with you something out of this workbook, and it's the problem. It's called the problem. So we identify the problem. So just give me 1 second. We'll grab that for you. Okay, you ready? Okay. So the problem, what keeps a woman stuck? All right. The problem is not something happened to you. The problem is what you had to become in order to survive it, and how long you have been living as though that survival strategy is simply who you are. Survival mode is not who you are. It is a mechanism that has come upon you in order to survive. Somewhere along the way, minimizing, becoming a habit, it wasn't that bad. Other people had it worse. I should be over it by now. Every one of those sentences is a way of not looking directly at something that deserves to be looked at. And healing cannot begin in a place you refuse to see. So the problem is the old beliefs you mistook for facts, that you were too much, not enough, unsafe, useless unless you are useful, unlovable unless you are managing everyone else's comfort. Those were never true. They are survival stories formed under conditions no child or young woman or man should have had to navigate alone. The problem, okay? The problem is the patterns, the same relationship wearing a different face, the same abandonment fears, driving the same choices, the same nervous system braced for a threat that isn't in the room anymore, but your body has never been told it's over. The problem is isolation. Most women carry this kind of weight alone, convinced that naming it out loud would be too much for people around them, or too much of an ambition that something was genuinely wrong. None of this means that you are broken, okay? It means you adapted to something that should never have required adapting to. The adaptation, however intelligent, is not the same as life that you actually choose. So the good news is that we can change. And so part and parcel of what I'm doing here is helping you to change, helping you to go from transition from one place to another. But step number 1 is recognize. Radical acceptance. Okay. All right. Radical acceptance. Here we go. Okay. I have 2 little rocks here. So part of the rebuild process is I have a stone process, and that stone process means that I remove rocks. So if you can imagine, when something terrible has happened, you're like rubble. Okay, it's like a destruction. Everything has fallen down around you, and there's lots of stones. And so what I'm doing is I'm taking one stone away and I'm replacing it with a brand new one. And that is the stone process. So the idea is that I'm constantly taking away things that are broken or not working in your life or keeping you stuck. So for example, today I'm taking away denial and I'm bringing in awareness. All right. So I'm taking away denial and I'm bringing in awareness. So there's an exchange of stones. So when I refer to the stone process, this is what I'm talking about. Okay, so just imagining that house that's been brought to ruins, you're going to have to rebuild the house and you're replacing one stone for another. So today, radical acceptance. So we're looking at that. And that basically means I see what is really happening. So I restore people back to their original condition. And today we're stepping into the stage R of the rebuilt journey. Recognize. This is where rebuilding begins, not fixing, but finally seeing what's true. We'll spend some time on a specific skill inside recognizing, that's radical acceptance. This is something that I teach my clients and what it actually means to look at the reality. Now, as I've said before, we work through the rebuilt 7 stages. R for recognize, E for establishing safety, B for breaking old beliefs, U for uncovering patterns, I to integrate, L to lean forward, and T to transform. We are at the beginning with R. So this stage is recognizing, doesn't ask you to feel any different. I'm not asking you to feel differently. I'm just asking you to have a look at something. It only asks you to see clearly. I don't need you to look at differently or put a different story. I just need you to have a look at it. Denial isn't always loud. Sometimes it looks like staying busy, over-explaining someone else's behavior, or waiting for the version of them that isn't come back. You cannot rebuild a house without first looking at its foundation. You must have a look. You can't refuse to look at it. So a belief that I want you to think about today and worth examine is, if I accept it, am I saying it's okay? So no, it is not saying it's okay. If I accept it, it's not saying it's okay. I want to get rid of that myth real quick. This is not what acceptance means. It's not approval, it's not resignation, and it's not saying it didn't hurt. I am not minimizing what any of you I'm not sure what you've been through. I'm not minimizing it at all by making you have a look at it, okay? So this is what radical acceptance is. It's acknowledging reality exactly as it is, without emotions, without different stories. It's just looking at it for exactly as it is, not as you wish it were, so you can respond to it instead of fight it. Now, if we don't recognize something and have radical acceptance, we can go into a stress response. Fight, flight, freeze, appease. Most of us, when we don't want to radically accept something, we fight it or we flee, meaning we don't look at it. So we stay stuck and we stay in denial. Why it matters is every energy spent denying reality is energy you cannot spend rebuilding. Every hour in denial is that you're not going to be living your best life. And that is my goal here, to bring you to your complete original identity before all of this happened. Okay, so I want you to know the difference. Radical acceptance versus toxic positivity. Now, toxic positivity is this: just think positive. Looks away from what happened, minimizes or rushes past pain, performs okayness instead of feeling it. Okay, this is what radical acceptance is. Look at what actually happened, looks directly without flinching, doesn't exaggerate it either, feels it, names it, and then moves on. Okay, that's what radical acceptance is. So I've talked to you about process. So I have a question for you now. What am I refusing to see? So I've talked about it earlier. What is your presenting situation? What are your circumstances? What do you need to look at? What do you need to recognize? So Stone turns denial and avoidance into a structure that at what's true. So the Stone structure is about looking at the situation, the thoughts, the observation, the narrative, and evaluate. And then we end with removing what is there. So right now, what that question is, what am I refusing to see? I hope you've written it down, because that will be very important for you to reflect on moving forward to get the best out of these sessions. Okay, if you are watching this right now or you're watching the replay, I'd love for you to comment in the comments. If you're willing, tell me one word for something you've been avoiding looking directly. Well, I'm going to give you a couple examples. I'm going to give you, first of one is weight loss for me. Back when after I had my first child, I I put on tremendous amount of weight, and I was up to about 98 kilos. And I'll be honest, I was in 100% denial, and I did not want to accept the fact that I had put on so much weight. I literally had convinced myself into delusion, and the delusion was, and this is me, my stress response was to run away and make other stories up. So I remember being in a changing room at one of the department stores, and I was putting clothes on, and I'd gone from being a size 10 and now I was putting on size 16 clothes, and they were too tight for me. And I remember going, I know what they've done. This is a true story. They have made the clothes smaller. They have made the clothes smaller than what they used to be. There is no way that I'm a 16. I was now in size 18 clothes and still thinking that I wasn't overweight. And I lasted in that zone for about 12 months. How did I keep avoiding it? I didn't look in the mirror from the neck down. I wore really baggy clothes so they wouldn't feel tight on me, so I wouldn't have to face the fact that my clothes were tight. I bought, drawstring pants. I bought big t-shirts. And so I could quite easily, happily stay in denial until one day I was trying to get up a flight of steps and I could not believe the pain that was in my knees. And I thought, gosh, what's wrong with my knees? But in reality, what was happening is they were struggling under the weight that I was currently carrying. So it was going up the steps and puffing really. I was exhausted and the knees hurting that I realized, okay, there's something not quite right here. It's not the clothes getting smaller in the department stores. It's actually me, and I'm actually put on weight. So that made me go and have a look in the mirror. And I went and had a look in the mirror, and I could not believe, I didn't recognize the person that was in the mirror. And I decided there and then, it was quite a radical moment. I named what was wrong with. I named the fact that I was severely overweight, nearly 100 kilos. I got on the scales. I didn't even know how heavy I was. I got on the scales, and that was it. That was my boomph, my absolute wake up call. And I signed up for Weight Watchers. I don't even know if Weight Watchers are a thing now. I signed up for Weight Watchers, and then I went to the gym. As embarrassing as it was, I went to the gym. I was the largest woman in the group, and I just knew that I had to do what I had to do. I had to face the situation. I had to name it, and I had to take the power back, because denial had the power over me. And it controlled my thoughts, it controlled my behaviors. And I had to, by naming what was going on, I took back my power. And so I got to the stage where I could see what was really happening. So as an example, that's a typical example of me being in complete denial. And all of a sudden, I was forced through circumstances to go into complete awareness. And so when I went into complete awareness, I then could make some choices, and I could make some decisions to see what was really happening to me and take my power back. Every stone matters, and every stone is yours, and every stone is a choice. So this is your choice now. So this is where we have a look at your where you're at, and I'm going to ask you some questions. All right. So I've got my questions here. Now, these are questions for you to write down, and then you can have your own personal reflection if you like. I'll also put a copy of these questions in the comments. Okay. Number one question. I've asked you that one word that you are refusing to see. So if I was to give you my one word of something I was refusing to see, it was weight gain for me. Now, for you, it could be anything. It could be, I won't name it. You name it. It's your role to name it. What would you change if you accepted this reality without judging it? Now, in my circumstance, well, I'm going to take you to a broken relationship. So if I was to ask myself question, one word, what you were refusing to see in the context of a relationship, I was refusing to see bad behavior was not acceptable. I was in denial that behavior was okay and it was acceptable. What would I change if I accepted this reality without judging it? It was really hard. What held the beliefs that held me in that stuck place, in that denial place, was I believed that person was going to change. 120 years, I thought that this would change, and I fought for change and that belief. And at one point, I had to be radically honest with myself. I had to radically accept the reality without judging it, that this was probably never going to change, and the only person that could change was me. And then that shifted me. I named it, and that shifted me out of that stuck place into the next phase. Question number 3 I have for you. What is the one truth that you've been avoiding? I can't change him, but I thought I could. The truth was, I can't change him, but I can change me. And so that is what helped me become radically aware and come into radical acceptance. And so if we were to look at the stone process, let's have a look at that now. So the stone process is 1, situation, S for situation, T for thoughts, O for observations, N for the narrative, the story, E for evaluation. Now, if you want to go deeper into this, grab the workbook. Everything is in this workbook, okay? The stone process is what I walk clients through in one-on-one sessions. It's a brilliant process. It helps you to basically self-coach. It's a self-coaching model. So you can ask yourself this process. So stone, S. What's happened? Stone is situation. What is happening? Write the facts only, the facts only, not how you feel, just absolute facts. T, what automatic thoughts are showing up? Okay, so T is thoughts. So think about your thoughts. What are you thinking about? I was overweight. Okay, 100% overweight for my size, overweight. Fact. Okay, the thoughts were, the automatic thought was, to keep me in denial, was that everything else was getting, like my clothes were getting, I was buying clothes that were being made smaller, keeping me in my overweight state. I was making stories up in my head to keep me from looking at, I don't have to look in the mirror. I wear baggy clothes and it will keep me in my state of stuckness. So the automatic thoughts was, I never once acknowledged that I needed to lose weight. I just pretended I was okay until I couldn't walk up the stairs. So, observations. Step back. What do you notice about your responses? All right. Now, if I was to step back and have a look at the responses that I had, if I was on the outside and listening to that what was going on, I'd be like, oh my gosh, that is 100% a person in denial who's trying to fool themselves to believe that their current situation is okay. All right. So I want you to pause. I call this pause. In any situation, pause and observe. Pull yourself, lean out and have a good look. Even if you have to shift yourself into seeing yourself from an outside perspective to get the truth, to bring yourself into that radical acceptance. N, narrative. What story have you been telling yourself? I've given you a perfect example of this, of the stories I'm telling myself. E, evaluate. Is the stone serving you? All right. So if we were to pick up the denial stone, is this stone serving you? Is it serving you? It might give you temporary peace, but long term, you're going to remain stuck. And I see this over and over and over. I see it in relationships. I see it in careers. I see it in leadership. I see it in health situations. I just see that denial will keep you stuck and it will never create positive change in your life. So ask yourself, is this situation that I find myself in, is it serving my life? Is it making my life better? If not, we need to remove it and we need to take that stone out and we need to bring in the new stone. And so the new stone is, the situation is now changed. I'm changing my stone process. I'm changing my stone. Now I'm aware. So what's happening now is, okay, I've accepted. I'll use the weight loss because it's easy. I've accepted I needed to lose weight. I now need to know how to eat healthy. I now need to go to the gym. What's my automatic thought? Now, the automatic thought that I was having, I shifted from was, I remember when I was doing a step class and I honestly thought I was going to have an asthma attack and my knees were hurting, my hips were hurting, my back was hurting. All I kept on saying, my automatic thought was, I can do this. I can do this. And you know what? I had a little declaration. I am fit. I am well. I am healthy. I am fit. I am well. I am healthy. So that became my automatic thought. Every time it became hard to go for a walk, get up in the morning, go do PT, go do the gym, I remember thinking, I am fit. I am well. I'm healthy. I basically gave myself declarations to get rid of, I think it was in the end 20 to 30 kilos I lost. I got down to about 70 kilos. And so that was the belief that I had to have in my mind to keep myself from keeping myself in awareness and keeping myself going. My observations, what do you notice about your response? What I noticed about the new stone being aware was it made me motivated. I became very motivated to continue on the journey as hard as it was. What was the story that you with like the narrative? Well, the narrative became, I will be able to push the pushchair up. You know, I had 4 kids. I had twins, so I'll be able to push their pram, and I'll be able to run around with the kids more. The narrative was, this is going to be a positive change in my life. And was being aware serving me? Yes, it was painful, but the awareness made me take action and it motivated me to go to that next place. So that's the session for today, radical acceptance. I hope that has helped you. If you feel that you need some more guidance, I highly recommend getting this. It's the downloadable document. If it's not, you can't see the link, I'll make sure that it's put up there for you to go get. Now, if you want it, anybody on this is watching this gets a discount code. If you put this discount code in, you will get it for 50% off. Okay. The code is 1HC50. I'll put the code in the chat as well if you missed it. So 1HC50. Okay. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for being here this morning. We are going to go live next Monday. I'm going to be in New Zealand and we are going to be covering E, which is established safety. So it'll be the next phase in the rebuilding process. If you've got any questions, drop them in the comments. I'll keep looking at this feed. If you don't want to make it public, feel free to message me in the messenger. I will respond to you, but I will be joining you next Monday, 7 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Even though I'll be in New Zealand, I will still run it at the same time. Thank you, everybody. If you've watched the replay, thank you, guys. Bless you heaps. I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. Okay.